All right, welcome to your Orlando area buyers masterclass. Thank you for clicking on here. And if you're either tired of renting and this is controlling your life and you feel stuck, and if you're wondering if home ownership is even realistic in today's market, you've come to the right place. And I'm not going to tell you anything other than the truth, not realtor hype, not lender sales tactics, real strategies that are working right now in Central Florida. And before we begin, here are the quick ground rules. Stay until the end, the Q&A at the end, because there are bonus options, there's next steps that are only explained right here. Please feel free, take notes, screenshots, bring in somebody you like, maybe someone you don't like. There will be strategies most people have never heard of in this presentation. So this has been designed in order to help you. And the quick introduction is, if you don't know me, hi, I'm Clover, and I've been helping families buy properties right here in Central Florida since 2001. Yes, it's true. I started with hair. All right. So over that time, I've seen one pattern repeat over and over. People don't stay renters because they can't buy. They stay renters because no one's really showed them how. Now, you've heard of plenty of horror stories, and that's why I've created this very presentation so that you can avoid that. All right, let's get started. So thank you again for showing up. That already tells me that you're serious about making a smart decision and not a rushed one. So this is not a sales pitch. It's not hype. And I'm not here to convince anyone to buy a house if it doesn't make sense. So my job is simple. It's to help you decide clearly, confidently, whether buying in Central Florida makes sense for you right now, and are the steps that you need to buy, whether waiting is actually a smarter move. We'll find out. So this presentation is not for everyone. This session really is for professionals and renters planning a move, say in the next 30 to 90 days, who don't want to make an expensive mistake. It's not for browsers, and it's not for people just clicking around. Now, if you have current late payments or your credit is under 580, this presentation is not going to help. If that's you, no hard feelings. This just won't be useful. And most people feel stuck right now, not because they can't buy, but because the noise is overwhelming. Rates, prices, headlines, plenty of opinions. Am I right? The real problem isn't the market. It's making decisions without a framework. So let's continue. So who's guiding you? This guy. My name's Clover, and I'm with eXp Realty, and I've been a full-time realtor right here in Central Florida since 2001, like I said. I've personally helped over 1,800 buyers and sellers, not my brokerage, not my team, me. So this isn't theory. This is what I see every single day right here in the Orlando market. And I specialize in the Central Florida exclusively, and I work primarily with professionals and families who want clarity before making a big decision. My role isn't just opening doors, it's helping people and buyers think clearly about timing, risk, flexibility, and leverage. So if buying doesn't make sense for you, I'm going to tell you directly. And one thing that you should do is research who you work with in this industry, right? If you want to verify me, simply Google Clover Realtor. You'll see that I have 5-star reviews in Google, Zillow, Realtor.com, Facebook, and YouTube. And I've been trusted by your Orlando professionals and families, again, since 2001. So this is not something that we're going to just think about and make up as we go along. These are real stories, real instances, and real strategies that you can use, whether you decide that you want to work with me or any professional. These are tips and tricks on how to interview lenders, realtors, and inspectors, etc. Let's go. So most buyers don't lose money, they lose time. I've never met a buyer who regretted buying a home with a plan, but I've met many who regretted waiting without a plan. A lot of regret. Waiting feels safe, guessing feels cheaper, but both cost more in the long term. Waiting is not a neutral decision, and clarity always is going to beat guessing. So let's talk about renting versus owning right here in Orlando. Renting isn't bad, but renting gives you zero control. Your rent can increase, your lease can change, and every payment builds someone else's equity, not yours. Owning isn't about timing the market, it's about control. So let's go over the advantages. You build equity, not your landlord's wealth. This is equity. Think of it like putting money in the bank. It's there to grow its value over time. And when you own, you have stable monthly payments. There's no surprise in rent hikes. The tax benefits that renters never see. You have freedom to customize your space, put that pool in, put that fence in for your furry child, whatever you want to do. You also have homestead exemptions and long-term asset that appreciates over time. So when you own, your money belongs to you and can grow. It's something that you can leverage and give to your children. When you rent, let's talk about the pain points. This may seem all too familiar, but you know that rent's going to rise every year with zero control. You're building someone else's wealth. There's no equity, no asset, and no return. You have stricter rules, no remodeling, limited freedom, and there's unpredictable landlord decisions. What if they decide to sell? They can raise their rent, or they may decide that they don't want to renew your lease. Either way, you got to move. So renting is literally throwing your money away. So here are the real numbers, not the myths. So what buying a $350,000 home actually looks like. Let's use this as our example. So when you own, you're building equity. Our house in this situation is $350,000. We're going to use an FHA loan, and that's going to have a 3.5% amount that we have to put down. So this is $12,250 that we're putting down in order to get the loan. Now, this does not include closing costs and prepaids. We'll discuss that a little later. So the mortgage payment in this situation is only $2,100 a month. But we're going to need to add $350 to property taxes and $200 for your monthly insurance on the house. So that means your total all-in cost per month is $2,650. Total, you own it. Rent, you're going to build nothing. So let's say your rent in this example is $2,200, average Orlando rent right now. And that will typically increase the following year after 12 months to $2,400, appreciating 5 to 8%. Now, life happens. Life is life to you, and things are moving along. Things are crazy with everything that's happening. So it's just kind of safer where you're at right now, but we're going to go ahead and sign, and we're going to renew that lease. So we renewed it again, and now we're paying $2,600 a month for another 12 months. After 3 years, that's a total of, let's just round it up to $80,000 gone. So owning costs a little bit more per month, but every dollar builds your wealth, not your landlord's. So here's what waiting usually costs in Central Florida. It costs you higher prices, higher rent, fewer choices. And then you run into spring and summer months. Typically, there's more buyers. They show up, competition increases. Maybe something's happening in New York, California, whatever, more people are coming in. Your leverage is going to drop. When I say leverage, sellers don't need you. They don't need to give you closing costs and prepaids or buy down your mortgage rate or incentives or lower the price. They don't need you. So the goal isn't panic buying. The goal is not waiting blindly. It usually makes it harder. So we have a saying in real estate: date the rate, marry the house. All right, let's get into these myths, right? The things that your Uncle Jerry told you that you got to need 20% down before you even think about doing something, kid. All right, so thanks, Uncle Jerry, but you're wrong. All right, one of the biggest myths is that you need 20% down. That is not true. Many buyers qualify with far less, sometimes 3 to 5% down, and in certain cases, no money down at all. All right, that would be a VA loan or down payment assistance scenario. The real issue isn't the down payment, it's not knowing your options. And guessing is usually what keeps people stuck renting. All right, another common myth. All right, here we go. Buyers should wait for rates to drop before they buy. Hey, I was watching this thing on YouTube, all right? And we got to wait for the new Fed chair. He's going to lower those rates, so don't do anything. Now, by the way, if this impression lands too close to home, I'm sorry. It has nothing personal for you, but I've heard it a million times, okay? So prices don't wait. Competition does not wait. And when rates drop, demand does what? It increases. So inventory is going to tight Those incentives, like we talk about, boop, they're gone, they disappear. So if rates go down later, guess what? You can always refinance. You still have the home, the money you put into the property is still yours, and your monthly rate drops. But you can't refinance a house that you never bought. So owning gives you options. Waiting simply takes those away. Here's the other common myth, is that you don't need representation when buying new construction. Here's the reality. Builders are professionals. They have sales reps, attorneys, and contracts written to protect their interests. Now, that's not wrong. That's their job. So the question is, who's protecting your interests? So whether it's new construction or resale, having professional representation levels that playing field. Oh boy, this one's a good one. This is where you're going to want to take your notes, because my credit isn't good enough. Most buyers misunderstand credit. All right. This is really important. How credit works when buying a home is, when you talk to a professional home lender, they're going to pull your credit and they're going to take 3 separate scores: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Out of those 3 scores, your middle score is your number, whatever that middle score is. Then they're going to take your debt to income ratio and they're going to decide what it is that they want to loan on you. Okay. So in reality, most buyers misunderstand this. They think buying a home is the same as buying a car or furniture or something like that. You don't need perfect credit. But Cliff, my credit's not a 760. It's only a 680. I'm going to have $1 million monthly payment. No, that's not it at all. That's not true. That is absolute myth. And the only way that that is going to be handled is by you knowing the facts. So you don't need perfect credit. It's not going to be, by the time you got to an 800 and what you could have already gotten in your house, you would be behind. So it's better just to get into your property. I know that sounds crazy, but trust me, it is not what you think it is. So you don't need an 800 score. Many buyers with credit in the 600s and even some cases lower can qualify. So what matters isn't the one number that you see online. What matters is your full buying profile. And most people don't know that until they talk with a real professional. And talking to a legitimate professional versus someone you find online randomly, they're there to try and rope you in and can bait and switch you on certain things. We want to avoid that through this presentation. I'm going to explain all these things as we go. One of the biggest mistakes buyers make is thinking that there is one right way to buy a home. There isn't. There's a right strategy for your situation, income, timeline, credit profile, and your comfort level. That's why advice online from family, friends are rarely correct and does not apply to your story. Now, here's the big one for professionals. If you're a 1099 individual, the reality is, and if you're renting, the reality is you can make good money, but most business people write off a lot of their income so that they're not paying a lot of taxes. Well, when they go to try to qualify for a home, they don't show that they make enough money and they stay stuck. Now, we have different programs that we offer our clients that we can show them some things called a DSCR loan, various other strategies such as putting down 15% and just using bank statements gets you into that property and you're no longer stuck renting. We can also use strategic 401 use, lease navigation, low down payment options, first time home buyer programs, and down payment assistance. So I'm not giving you loan advice here. I'm saying this because most people are really closer than they think. They just don't have a plan, or they're listening to that movie in their mind, or maybe that person at the water cooler that just says, you know, you can't do it, you won't be able to do it, it's not for you, etc. That's not the case. Most of the people that think they couldn't, holding keys in their hands after 20 days, tears in their eyes saying this just got real. And it happens. Ask me how I know. All right, here we go. Okay, Most people ask me whether it's better to buy new construction or resale. Now, there's a lot of building growth here in Central Florida, a lot of incentives. Some builders are offering extremely low interest rates, and some aren't, not are doing the same thing that everybody else is. So sometimes buying new versus resale is something that you want to discuss your options and understand the pros and cons. So neither is really better. One is just better for you. And most buyers don't lose money on the house. They lose leverage before they ever negotiate. New construction and resale each come with different incentives, risks, and negotiation opportunities. The right choice depends on your goals, your timeline, and the area that you want to live in. That's why strategy matters more than headlines. So this is where things get very interesting. Where should you live? Central Florida neighborhoods are at a glance right now in this example, and some people think that they can save money by choosing a location that costs less and that they think is better over time. This is foolish, and here's why. Because sometimes driving further means that you're going to have more traffic congestion and problems or longer periods of time in your car, wear and tear on your vehicle, school zones, neighborhoods. These are all things that need to be discussed with a professional in order to ensure that you're making a wise decision versus a knee-jerk reaction, right? Buying a home a lot of times is emotional versus making a sound decision because it technically is your money. You're putting it in your bank, the bank of you. So breaking down areas, location, pricing, homeowner association fees, taxes, homeowner insurance, and CDD fees makes a difference. So right now, the average median price, say in Orlando, is about $380,000, Kissimmee $340,000, St. Cloud $360,000, Celebration $500,000 and higher, right? Lake Nona, definitely a hot zone, $450K and more. Winter Garden $420,000, and then there's also Claremont and other areas that are in very high demand, excellent school zone locations. But it just depends on your situation and what you want to do that's best for you. All right. So who represents you matters. Choosing who represents you matters because representation really is leverage. Now, you don't have to hire me, but you really have to have someone who represents you. Don't take my word for it, but I would say, hey, just Google Cliff Clover Realtor, read the reviews, and choose who is giving you advice and providing sound advice based on your goals, your needs, understanding the area, growth patterns, etc., what we just talked about. And they also need to understand contracts and negotiation. This is there to protect you. Builder representatives work for builders. Listing agents work for sellers. But Cliff, look, I'm going to go online. I saw this thing online, and I'm going to call the listing agent. I'm going to save some money, make a better deal. That doesn't work. Never works. Ask me how I know. All right. A buyer's agent works for you, the buyer. That is who represents you, not someone with commission breath. Someone that's able to really understand how to best help you based on what you can afford, what's best for you in the neighborhood, areas, location, traffic, school, etc. That's what you're getting in a professional representation. So in today's market, experience with a full-time person, not someone who does this on the side for fun, because, it's just a little extra pocket cash on the most expensive purchase of your life. Don't do it. That's like going on to an airliner with someone who flies part-time as a hobby. Don't do it. Or a good doctor versus a bad one. A good attorney versus another. You get the point. So that's your protective leverage of having a professional. Interview, understand, and know your options before you begin. Look at the experience, look at their reviews, and choose someone aligned with who you feel is a good leader to help you guide you through that process and make this a very less stressful environment and a fun process. Because let me tell you, this is extremely complicated, and I'm sure you've heard the horror stories like we've mentioned before. So getting through this process is so important. And everything that we've learned so far fades, doesn't it? If you don't act on it, it doesn't matter. Clarity without action doesn't last because the market's going to keep moving. whether you do or not. Your landlord loves that. And the system is designed to keep you stuck. And doing nothing is still a decision. So let's talk about a buying timeline step by step real quick, okay? Number one, we have the pre-approval process. We've talked about that. It usually takes 1 to 3 days. And during this process, you will fully understand your budget. There's going to be no guessing and absolutely no stress. So what we want to do, what I always tell my clients is, let's know our numbers right up front. That may seem counterintuitive, but when I say knowing your numbers, I'll explain this here shortly. Because once you're pre-approved, now we start the house hunting process. This can take anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks. And I filter these properties with you that you choose, whether it's new builders or resales. We discuss what's best for you and we can go take a look at them. Now, one of the ways that I help my clients is we don't just go looking at houses for the sake of looking at houses. Anytime you've identified at least 3 to 5 houses, we run all those properties through the mortgage broker and we understand what the exact payment will be, how much money you'll have to bring to closing on each property. That way, when you turn keys, you are fully aware of what to expect. This lowers your stress level and gives you that confidence that you need so you sleep at night. And trust me, the worst thing you can do is go into open houses on the weekend or new home developers, fall in love with something that you can't afford. And then when you're looking for something after that, it's a big letdown. And that is a psychological problem, which we want to avoid in the very beginning. All right, so then we go to number 3. We found a house that you absolutely love. Buyer and seller have come to an agreement, meeting of the minds, as we call it in the biz. And we have an offer and negotiation is now accepted. This usually takes about 1 to 3 days. I negotiate with you, for you, and not the seller during that process. So now we are under contract and we have to put in our escrow. We're moving to number 4. Escrow is good faith money that ties up the property so that the seller can't sell it from underneath you. And that gives money. Escrow money is typically 1% of the purchase price. So in our example of $350,000, we would put in about $3,500 to tie up the property. Now, in the Orlando area, typically maybe $1,000 is acceptable to most sellers in today's market. But let's keep going. So now we have our escrow in. And escrow means that you're going to behave. You're going to do exactly what the contract says. And if you don't, the seller can take your money. We want to avoid that. And by having professional representation, keeping you on track avoids this problem. So now we're okay with everything. We're going to go ahead and start with our inspection. Inspections typically have various other things attached to an inspection report. An inspector works for you. Inspections typically cost anywhere between $600 to $1,000 or more. They include or can include the following inspections. Reports, okay? Could include a WDO, that stands for wood destroying organism, a 4-point inspection, and a wind mitigation report on top of your home inspection report. Your lender and your home insurance company will determine what is necessary in order to help keep your rates low and so that you know that you're not getting into a lemon, all right? That usually takes anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks. Then you're going to have your appraisal. The appraisal comes back either at value. If it does, great, it moves forward. If the appraisal comes back at a higher number, they won't disclose that to the seller. You'll know that you got into a property with equity. If it comes in lower, then what's going to happen is we have no deal to move forward. You reserve the right to do 3 things. Either you and the seller have the right to accept the new price. Let's say in this case it's $330, or you can renegotiate, meet in the middle, or meet at some other terms and conditions, or you can cancel the agreement and get your deposit back at that point and go find another property. So we can discuss that. That's based on an appraisal. But let's assume in our situation that everything's great. We're happy. We're moving forward. Appraisal came in at value. Inspections are good. And now we're heading towards our closing day, number 5. This says 30 to 45 days. Right now I'm closing properties in under 20 days. I just closed one in 14 days. Keys in your hand from start to finish. You are a homeowner. So most people think it takes months. It really doesn't. So every buyer ends up choosing one of 3 paths, not just 2, either intentionally or by default. So you can do nothing or hope things work out, or you can do this the right way with a plan. So clarity is always going to beat guessing every time. What are your three options, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. Option A is just keep renting. Don't get pre-qualified. Don't change anything. Just keep on trucking. So rent goes up every year. Zero equity, zero return. You're building someone else's wealth. And congratulations, in 5 years, $132,000 is now gone. I can't tell you how many people have been renting for 20 years. And literally, when we show them that math, they end up crying because they realize that they've just thrown away a massive opportunity for their investment in life. Option B, oh boy, Uncle Jerry's going to love you. We just wait and hope. We're just going to wait and hope. And maybe prices are going to drop. Maybe rates will go down finally. Maybe prices could climb 5.8% every year, and every month you wait costs you. Or option C is get clarity now. Have a 15-minute strategy session, know your numbers, zero pressure, zero cost, and start building your wealth today. It's clarity. That's it. So simple. Just easily call or text 321-320-7129. If you want to take a screenshot, that'd be great. Or just click on cliffcloverhomes.com/book. That is a special link for this presentation, and you will get the bonuses when you click that link and sign up to have that strategy call if you'd like to do that. And if you do that, there are bonuses for you action takers. All right? Not just for browsing, but these bonuses for people that want to understand their options. These are for the buyers who are ready to move forward intentionally and take action. Doesn't mean you have to buy. It just means you want to know where you stand. That means if you do want to do something, you're going to get priority scheduling from me. You're going to get preferred lender coordination from me. You're going to get in any incentives that I can get you when they're applicable by me and for you. And you get direct access to me, not my team, not my buyer's reps. You get Cliff, okay? So that's only for this presentation that you're seeing now. That'd be cliffcloverhomes.com/book or the number that I showed you on the screen. Smart buyers don't guess. They get a plan. This doesn't mean you have to do anything, but you have to have a clear foundation. And if you're ready, now's the time. So stick around. We have our Q&A, and I'm going to answer the biggest question that buyers have had over the years. Maybe you have those questions right now. So don't go anywhere just yet. And if buying in the near future matters to you, that next step is that booking strategy call. Do that. Don't hesitate. Those things fill up quick. So if you want my specific personal help, you can, again, there's the number on your screen. Screenshot that. That's 321-320-7129. Text, call, no problem. cliffcloverhomes.com/book for this presentation. Get you those bonuses, and we'll make sure that we make you happy. But if you want clarity specific to your personal situation, book that strategy call. Again, it's not a sales call. It's just a working situation session designed for you based on your situation. And we're going to confirm realistically what you can do in the next 30 to 90 days or potentially longer. We're going to discuss what your best paths are going to be, whether it's a 401k, VA, down payment assistance, lease timing strategy discussions, or maybe credit repair, or whatever the case may be. We can discuss that. We can map your next steps so that you can stop guessing. And if it doesn't make sense for you to move forward, I promise you, I will tell you directly. So check out that link on the bottom of that screen. Book your strategy session. Let's dive into the Q&A now. All right. So why did I put this Q&A together? Because over the 20 plus years that I've been doing this business, here are the most prevalent questions that I get when people are asking about starting this process. So let's go through them together. Hopefully this will answer some of your concerns. Maybe you're thinking about these things as I was discussing this, and we can dive into it. Here we go. What if I still have a lease agreement? Can I buy? Yes, absolutely. You're not stuck with double payments. If we can get you out of your lease, typically it's 60 days or 30 days notice. You won't have a mortgage payment for at least 60 days after you close. So that means you'll have some time without double payments to get moved into your new house. All right. So we can discuss that when you make that call with me. Is there a best time of year to buy? Yes. When you're ready and tired of throwing your money away. That is the best time to buy. How much should I save to put up for a down payment? Well, that depends. If you make over, let's say 130,000 or whatever the case may be, you could buy a first-time home buyer. Maybe you can put down only 3.5%, which in this case, a $350,000 house is $12,000. Or you can use your 401k, or you could put down 5%, 10%, you could put down 20%, you could put down 100%. It really doesn't matter, but we can discuss what's best for you based on what you would like to do. What are closing costs? Okay, closing costs are lender fees and or other fees associated with this. These closing costs could include realtor fees, lender fees, survey, appraisal, various other things all combined together, which gives a total cost. Now, we didn't talk about closing costs in the beginning because in today's market, typically sellers are willing to cover that. Not all sellers will. This is why it's so important to know your numbers up front before you even start turning keys. If something is listed, in this case at $350,000, I personally call the listing agent and say, listen, buyer Jimmy needs closing costs of prepaids. Is the seller willing to cooperate with that? If the answer is yes, perfect, let's go look at it. If the answer is no, then we have to come up with another strategy, and I'll tell my client right up front. What are lawyer fees, realtor fees, and what fees am I responsible for? So the law now states that you must have a buyer brokerage agreement with your realtor, and sometimes realtor fees are part of the closing costs. Sometimes the seller pays some of it, sometimes the seller pays all of it, and sometimes the seller pays none of it. So that's all part of the negotiation. Lawyer fees are completely up to you. All contracts are written on lawyer FAR documents. If you want to have a lawyer, that's additional costs you can pay, but it's not necessary in Central Florida typically because we use title companies to transfer title from buyer to seller. But if you have another need that requires an attorney, we can discuss that. What is underwriting? What does an underwriter do? An underwriter is going to be looking at your bank statements, your tax returns, your credit, all the different things. And don't think that you're going to be able to, they're going to make sure that you still have your job. Many people think they're cute and they quit their job right before they close on their house and they can't close their house. Many people open up credit cards at Home Depot or a furniture store right before they close on their house and they jack their credit and they won't be able to close. They lose their deposit. Ask me how I know this. Okay, let's see. Can I buy a home and sell my current home at the same time? Yes, absolutely. We have people that buy a home, they pull equity out of their existing property, they buy their new home, they sell their old home, and Bob's their uncle. All right. What happens if I change my mind after we started the buying process? Well, as long as you change your mind during the inspection period, whatever that period is agreed upon in the contract, then no harm, no foul. If you change your mind after the inspection period and the property did appraise and you did everything you were supposed to do for the loan, you're basically on the hook for the deposit and possibly being sued. So we don't want that to happen. We really want you all in, passionate, excited about your new house. How do I know if I'm ready to buy? You are pre-approved. That's how you know. Let's see, should you buy now instead of rent? I don't know. If you like throwing your money away, possibly buying now would be the better option. Can I buy with no money down? Yes, that is a possibility. We have a lot of no down payment or down payment assistance programs. And if you're a VA buyer, then yes, it can be no money down as long as you have a 640 credit score. Can I raise my credit scores to qualify? Yes, absolutely. Just let us know, book a time with us, and we can do that. Sometimes we can raise your score. We just raised another client's score by 60 points in as little as 3 days. And we have the tools and technology to do that. We are able to help you quite rapidly. If it's something that's more intense, then we can recommend a credit repair specialist in that situation. All right. So what happens next is really up to you. So listen, this isn't about selling anything. It's about showing you what's actually possible. But information without action doesn't change your life. So if you're serious about owning in Central Florida, your next step is simple. Book a private strategy call. We will build your exact buying blueprint. And if you're ready to grab a spot now, my calendar fills up very quickly every week. So at this point, you should have a clear sense of where you stand and whether buying makes sense for you now or whether waiting is a smarter move. But if you want clarity specific to your situation, the next step is a buyer strategy call. Scheduling link is right there. It's cliffcloverhomes.com/book. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be with me right now. And I look forward to speaking with you. Thanks for watching.